Why, hello, friend. Welcome home. This is Coming Home with Mama T, and I am super excited to dive into this episode with you today because it feels like pieces are just coming together, falling together, and I want to bring light to reminding you that if we take the time to really stop and kind of take stock of what's going on, when we slow down, we get the signs, we get the, what's the word I'm looking for? The acknowledgement that we are heard in our journey, heard in our desires, and we get awareness towards how we are creating what it is that we are desiring to experience. So if you're new here, I love to chat about what I'm experiencing in my journey of creating an extraordinary life. My name is Tiara, aka T, or of course, Mama T. I am the founder of the Home Membership, which is a life coaching community helping to guide you along with your manifestations on creating the life that you desire. I am also a life coach, a certified life and business coach. I am a Reiki master teacher. I am dabbling into herbalism and all sorts of things to really just help me live a life that I desire, and I inspire what's the word I'm looking for? I am looking forward to sharing what I learn in my knowledge to help you grow as well. So with that being said, how things are coming together that I am witnessing in my own life is, well, one, I feel like, Lord, chaos has ensued, right? This is probably the first recording I've done since the Lionsgate portal, quote unquote, closing, if you will. Not quite. If you're not familiar with that, definitely check out the Lionsgate episode. But basically knowing that that time of year is a very energetically lucky time, a great time to set intentions for manifestations and all of that good stuff. But I know that I really set some big intentions, some big goals for myself, really leaning into clarity on what I want my life to truly look like, and reflecting on like how I have worked towards getting to that space, but also acknowledging that, yeah, I'm not exactly where I want to be yet. But as we sit and reflect, we get those moments of like, clarity, how it all kind of comes together. I had someone say that like everything that you've done up until this point really has some sort of impact on your life. It has meaning. It came up to you for a reason. And I was like, okay, whatever, when I heard it in the moment. But as I'm thinking about what it is that I'm looking to experience in my life, right? Like wanting to create a physical space, wanting to have like a winery, resort, and spa, like a wonderful space for people to like show up, have the community, where the home membership can actually come into like a physical fruition, where we can do meditations together, Reiki healings together, we can nature walk together, we can drink wine and like celebrate together and have so much fun, right? Really leaning into living a life that is actually living and not hardcore like work for someone else's intention, someone else's bank account, someone else's whatever, but actually living. Yes. And so that is what I'm feeling more called to, is getting back to like living every single day. I don't think that we're meant to be staring at a computer for 8 to 10 hours every single day. I feel like, what is that? That is, I think that there is an easier way, a simpler way, a better way, and we have to just find it for ourselves depending on what it is that we are passionate about. And so I was kind of thinking about all of this, and I remembered how once upon a time I had Now I feel like a rap song. Once upon a time, not long ago. But I had auditioned for a gig, and like, to be blatant about it, like, I auditioned to play the role of a slave on a farm. At the time, I had thought that the opportunity was going to be something very similar to, working for Jamestown or Colonial Williamsburg, which were places I had been as a child growing up in Virginia. And I thought of it as like, when I went there, and granted, it's been so many years, and at the time I probably had been like close to 15, 20 years that from when I had been to those places. But when I had went there, from my memory, it felt like those places were like, they were legitimate actors. They had a lot of information, and they weren't actually really doing the work. They were acting out these things, like, churning butter or whatever. And now to think about, they might have actually churned butter, because I feel like we got to like act like we were turning butter too, or get the idea of it. But it felt like an actual acting situation and not like being used, right? And so that audition for me, when I went in and I went to the space, one, there was like no actual other people that were there to learn and explore and whatever. Like, when I went to Jamestown, when I went to Williamsburg, those places were packed. There was like nobody here. So it felt kind of awkward there. And then I'm talking, and they're like, oh, well, what we want you to do is, we want you to have this information, but we want you to stay in character as a slave and like talk about what your day-to-day, you're going to be this character, and you're going to share what your day-to-day life is, but you're actually also going to work this farm. And I was like, like, I just like looked at it. I remember being like, I am not made for manual labor. Like, like, that was like my internal monologue. And I was like, okay, that's cool. All right, well, thank you. I will think about this. And then I like left, and I went home, and I was like, no, And I very specifically remember they were like paying like $10 an hour. And I was like, you want to pay me $10 an hour to be a farmhand, and with some information, potentially, if anybody actually shows up. But it sounds like you're just trying to underpay me to be a farmhand, because actors tend to like want, like, just trying to build that resume, right? And like working for peanuts. Like, no, I was not the one. But I was thinking about that because it came up because I was thinking about how in building the space that I'm looking for, I want to have like a garden. And the more I'm like looking into like, planting, and I'm having fun just like trying to propagate like the fruits and the vegetables that I get on a daily basis or a regular basis anyway. And I'm like, all right, well, if I know that I eat onions on a regular basis, why don't I try to grow an onion, And like, so I'm getting to this place where like I'm having fun practicing gardening. And it's just funny because it's like, oh, I probably would have so many more skills if I had taken that job, but no, I would not taken that job. The energy around that job just felt awful, but like it feels so much better when it's like something you're passionate about, right? Like you're actually attached to what it is that you're doing, right? Like, okay, like I'm doing this to feed myself and my family, and I'm learning more about how to be more self-sufficient and how to actually create a life for myself that doesn't feel like I am, quote unquote, working for the man or doing something that is outside of myself, doing something that is for in greater service of both myself and my community that I am actually attached to and I am actually passionate about. So it's kind of funny, like it's like, oh, like I'm doing the same things, but the energy is completely different in doing it. Also, like I find it would be, it's easeful. I'm learning, I'm exploring in my own right, in my own space. It's not like someone's breathing down my neck telling me like, oh, well, you need to like learn how to scythe this, whatever. But it's just interesting as I'm looking and I'm refining, right? I think one of my mantras for this month has been, I am the girl that gets what she wants. I feel like, one, it's kind of helping heal past versions of myself in the sense that like it's reminding me of like, oh, when I was a kid, I said I wanted this and I might not have gotten it, but like I got opportunities to like play with it, or I got opportunities that showed up later. So it wasn't like things showed up for me, even if it wasn't exactly how I had intended it to be, right? And so I get these reminders that, yeah, like I am this person. And I also, as I see these reminders, I also am getting more clarity on the fact that the more specific, or the more, not even specific, the more belief I have in the actual experience that I am looking for, the more I get closer to exactly what it is that I'm actually asking for, if that makes sense. I think back to my last relationship, and I swear, like, I listed so many things. When I sat down and I prayed and I was like, this is what I want. This is the experience that I want. And it came to like every box was checked. And so that is like such a good reminder that I keep coming back to, of like, when I really refine down and know what I want, and not have to change it up, and like really believe that it is possible, believe that I am worthy of it, believe that it is within my capacity. Step 1 is knowing what we want. Step 2 is believing what we want. And then step 3 is, it's very law of attraction, right? Is the receiving. We make it simple. And I know that I've gone through so many trainings and so many courses and so many things that are like, oh, well, that's just like fluff and that's whatever. And like, there's like all these different spiritual spaces that have issues with all these different things. And I have come to this space of like, all right, cool. If you have what you have, but I am looking to refine what I know is right for me and what works for me. And while, yes, maybe there is some negative energy, or there's so many different other people's bullshit is like covered on everybody else's piles of whatever and everybody else's belief structure and whatever. But you know what? Like, removing the bullshit and coming down to what is my structure, what works for me, what is happening for me. And that is what I want to encourage you to discover for yourself as well. And what we can refine in the home membership as well is like, what is your pathway? What works for you? What resonates with you, so that you can continue to tap in and you continue to learn and you can continue to grow and expand in your own desires. Right? And so for me, I am finding, okay, like, this is what I want. 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 And this is what I believe I can have. And sometimes they don't align. And when I get to a place where I'm like, all right, well, I believe I can have it. I can believe I can have it. I'm the kind of girl that gets what she wants. I'm the kind of girl. And that's where that phrase kind of came from, is I'm the girl that gets what she wants. Like, I get what I want. I don't necessarily need to know exactly how it shows up or whatever, but I get what I want. Right? I just need to know what I want is what I'm really finding, is like, I just need to know what I want. Like, there's so many times where I think the dinner explanation is like, or example is like so on point, because I'll be like, what do you want for dinner? And I'm like, oh, well, I don't want Mexican, and I don't want Chinese food, and I don't want this. Okay, cool. Like, I know what I don't want. Great. What do I actually want? Do I want a salad? Do I want steak? Do I want lobster? Pasta, lobster? What? Right? Like, and it's funny because, like, using the food example, okay, well, if I want lobster, then I can see like, oh, but I actually really want lobster tonight. Lobster would be amazing. And lobster might actually have some little like hesitation for me, because it's like, well, I don't know if I know how to make lobster. I'm trying to think, like, I've made lobster tails before. And so it's like, can I afford it? Right? Do I want somebody else to cook it? Like, I don't know. I don't have like a lobster place that I go to, because I don't often get lobster, because I have a belief structure that says lobster is super expensive. So lobster is only for special occasions. And so I don't. And I think, and really breaking it down. And that's the same with like anything that we want to experience in our life, right? Like, what's our bullshit around it? And I'm saying this thinking, well, like, if I really wanted lobster, I know, honestly, it's like, I really just don't have a craving. I'm down to just like grab some shrimp and move on with my life. Like, I can go down to the grocery outlet that's underneath my building, and I can make some bomb shrimp scampi and be totally happy, right? So like, it's not so much, I don't even remember the last time I had a craving for it to really like think about it. But now that I brought it up, I'm bringing up the fact that is something that's within me, this belief that's within me. And honestly, it's not charged in this moment where I'm thinking about, well, lobster sounds good. And I know that I really enjoy lobster, specifically lobster tail, not so much the whole body and the cracking the claws and all that. I like the tail. It's sweeter, it's juicy. Anyways, all of that to say that I know that, okay, well, if I really wanted lobster and I didn't want to pay like a super premium for it, I could definitely go to the Whole Foods or the Ralphs that are, within a mile from my place and buy some lobster, steam it, have a side of butter, put some garlic salt on it, and bada bing, bada boom. Yeah, I got lobster tail. And it's easy, it's fun, and it's delicious, right? It doesn't have to be like this crazy thing. Now, that being said, do I feel like if I go to, what's my belief structure around going to a restaurant? I believe that a lot of times they overcharge for it, and especially in LA. So there you go. And I have a lot of examples of how I feel like that. But I also recognize if I continue to have that thought process, like maybe there's a mom and pop like hole in the wall space that does not overcharge for it. And I am so busy believing that everywhere is this like, super fancy, charges like $30 for a cocktail kind of spot, then that's the experience that I'm gonna have. So I get to just readdress that, right? And I get to apply that to anything that I desire, my love life, my business. And I'm really starting to find, especially when I look at my business and I'm looking at, all right, well, what does my audience look like? And I want to grow my audience, and I want to have more listeners. I want to have more people that are committed to joining the membership. I want to have people that are going to come to the physical space when it becomes a thing. Like, who am I calling in? Who am I connecting to? And what am I doing to create these connections? And I have noticed that so often in my life lately that like there's so many people that I feel like could totally tap into what it is that I do. And I haven't necessarily invited them to be a part of it, right? And so there's that. There's also the fact that those people that feel like they could be like my number one champions, if you will, my biggest fans, if you will, those are people that I could ask to share, like, hey, if you're really loving it, can you share it with someone? Like, who else do you know that you think would really appreciate this and share it? And I recognize that I have so often been like a proponent in somebody else's business and being like, oh my gosh, this person, I love what they have to say, or I'm really tapped into their live videos. I'm really dialed into this. And I'm so good at being a follower from time to time. Like, yes, I can be a great leader, but I'm also a good follower. And I know like, okay, like if they're going live on Facebook, I can comment. The more I comment, the more it boosts their video and the algorithm, and the more it helps to like push out and share and show that people really enjoy the content. Same goes for TikTok, Instagram, whatever. Like, engagement helps, right? And so how do I invite people to engage with me? And I think that I got into a space where I felt uncomfortable asking for that help. Like, I felt like you should want to listen. Like, if you like what I do, then you should just want to listen to what I do, right? You should just regularly tune in. Why do I have to ask? And I think there's like a part of me that's like, I'm good at, like, part of me is like, I'm good enough, but also part of me felt like uncomfortable asking, because like, what if they just really don't care? Like, they don't like it, and they're being nice by saying, oh, like, you're so funny on social media, but like, honestly don't care. Like, I don't give a shit about what you're doing. And I think that's really what it is. It's just like, there's this, if I don't ask, then I don't have to hear that, like, I don't care, or I don't want to have to pressure anyone to participate if it's not something that they actually resonate with. I feel like, oh, if they resonated, they would just listen on their own. And I'm doing myself a disservice by not just shining my light. Like, I feel like I'm just a little dimmer than what I could be. And so we got to just turn it up, right? Turn it up. So I invite you to engage with me, right? I'm going live on Facebook. My goal is 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Every day, Monday through Friday for now. And so sharing is caring. Sharing the podcast, if you will, and sharing those lives on Facebook. And if you're in the home membership, letting people know what you're getting out of it, letting me know what you're getting out of it and what you would like to see more of, and really creating these connections. I'm really looking forward to seeing how things further click together as I'm learning more about how to grow and expand and get closer and closer and closer to fully experiencing the life that I desire. And I'm excited to watch you grow and expand and live the life of yours. With that, ta-ta for now. I love you.